Welcome to Shiny Tech Things, where we take things seriously. Now, normally I would be releasing a Tech Support Tuesday video today. However, I've had a handful of people ask me if I could compare several cameras against the Lumina Webcam. So in this video, I'm going to switch between several different cameras, and I want you to go ahead and drop comments down below. Now, no cheating, because I will reveal at some point in the video what cameras are what, but you might be surprised when I start revealing what each of the individual cameras were. If this is the first time you've been to my channel, welcome, and if you have no idea what the Lumina Webcam is, it is a AI enhanced 4K webcam. It is currently in a beta release state, so it's not released for production quite yet, and it does seem to run a little bit better on a Mac computer versus on Windows, at least for now. And that is because there are some known bugs with AMD processors and GPUs. So enabling certain effects, it can have flickering glitches due to those known bugs. Now you want to make sure that you watch this video in its entirety and also slap that like button. Not only does it help out my small channel, but if you jump around, then you're definitely going to miss when I start telling you what camera is which and what settings are being applied, because I will be placing that information randomly throughout the video, so make sure that you watch it all. So here's a sample on camera 1. Go ahead and drop a comment down below and let me know which camera you think this is and what settings it's using. Now we are on camera 3. Go ahead and tell me in the comment section below which camera and settings do you think I'm using now. So camera number 1 is the Lumina using the Plus driver on PC, which again is in a very early stage of a beta driver, and that is at 1080p with no blur. So this is camera number 4. Tell me what you think of it as well. And as you can see, I am using my microphone so that the audio will remain the same throughout all of my recordings, making it more difficult for you to be able to determine which camera is which and with what settings are being used to record with. So this is camera number 5. Tell me what camera you think I'm using and with what settings. All right, so this is camera number 6. Go ahead and drop a comment down below what you think this is. Now, camera number 3 is the Lumina, again on the PC. This time it was the raw feed at 1080p, using the NVIDIA broadcast software and running the NVIDIA blur on it. This is camera number 7. What do you think this camera is, and what settings am I using? Do you know? Can you guess? You might be surprised. Now, camera number 4 was the Lumina camera again on PC, but this time it was the raw feed at 4K resolution, going through NVIDIA Studio and enabling the background blur option. This is camera number 8. Which camera do you think it is, and what settings do you think I'm using? Now, camera number 6 was the Lumina on PC, and that was the raw feed, and it was 4K, but it was also cropped, and using NVIDIA's broadcast blur feature. This is camera number 9. Let me know what camera you think it is, and what settings. Camera number 5 was my Sony a6500 at 4K at f1.4 on the lens and using NVIDIA's auto frame feature. Here's an easy one. If you can't tell what this is and you have several cameras, there's no help for you. So this is camera number 10. Do you know which camera it is? Let me know what you think and what settings I'm using on it. This is camera number 11. Do you know what it is? Tell me what you think. So I'm going to show you some videos here, and I want you to tell me what do you think is being used to be able to follow me. All right, here is camera number 12. Tell me which camera you think it is and what settings I'm using. Camera number 8 was my Panasonic GH5 at 4K with a 2.8 lens on it. This will be camera 13. Let me know if you think this is doing a good job or not. Now, camera number 7 was my Sony a6500 with the f1.4 16mm Sigma lens on it, just using the NVIDIA blur option in NVIDIA Broadcast. All right, so this is camera 14. Now, tell me what you think the settings are and which camera are being used for this. Camera number 12 was my Panasonic GH5 at 4K with a 2.8 aperture lens, going through NVIDIA Broadcast using the auto frame feature to follow me around. This is camera number 15. What camera and what settings do you think I am using right now? How does it look? Now this is camera number 16. Tell me which camera you think it is and what its settings are. This is camera number 17. Let me know what camera you think this is and what settings I'm using. Now, camera number 16 was actually the 1080p webcam on the 14-inch M1 Max. So that was just native, raw at 1080p. Now, camera number 15 was my Panasonic GH5 at 4K, and I was using a f3.5 aperture lens on it instead of my 2.8, and then piping it through NVIDIA Broadcast and using the blur feature in that software. So this is camera number 18. What camera do you think this is, and what settings am I using? Camera number 17 was the Lumina on Mac at 1080p and with manual exposure. This is camera number 19. What camera do you think this is? This is camera number 20. What camera do you think this is, and what settings do you think I'm using? Camera 11. You heard that right. That was the Lumina webcam on PC at 4K, and it was the raw feed, and it was cropped into NVIDIA Broadcast with blur enabled. Camera number 10 was my Panasonic GH5 using the 2.8 lens at 4K, going through NVIDIA Broadcast and enabling the blur feature. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend to everybody, if you have to use any type of webcam for any video conferencing, is to have some sort of video light. For me, it's a circle ring light that is directly above me. Camera number 14 was the Lumina webcam, again on PC, but this time it was using the Plus driver, and I had NVIDIA's blur option turned on in NVIDIA Broadcast. However, I was using the AI cameraman inside of the Lumina Beta driver to be able to follow me around instead of the NVIDIA auto frame feature. Camera number 9 was using the Lumina webcam on the Mac using the Plus feed. I can almost reach it with my arm. If I scoot forward a bit in my chair, then I can actually touch the light, and I can change the color a little bit. So that's a little bit warmer, it's colder, that's more of like a neutral. That's usually what I typically use. And it was inexpensive. I'm going to say like 20 or 30 bucks on Amazon. And when using even a cheap built-in webcam, a 720p on whatever PC, which they're all horrible, it can significantly increase the picture quality that is being transmitted through a cheap webcam that's built into whatever laptop. The exception to that would be the Microsoft Surface laptops and the Surface Pros, as they, if I recall correctly, have up to a 5 megapixel camera, so they're actually quite good for picture quality. So for camera number 13, it was the Lumina webcam on PC at 1080p. It was the raw feed going into NVIDIA Broadcast with both the auto frame feature and blur turned on. Now with Macs, their 720p seems to have always been a lot better than 720p on any other PC laptop that I've ever had over the years. But yeah, the 1080p seems to have gotten a little bit better, but I personally am a little bit disappointed that it's not that much better, at least in my opinion, between the 720p and the 1080, going from the M1 Mac to the M1 Max 14-inch at 1080p. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below on what webcam do you have? Do you like it? And have you used additional lighting to be able to get a better result? Camera number 19 was the FaceTime camera on my 14-inch M1 Max at 1080p, and that was up-res to 4K. Now I'm hiding behind Mr. Max, my dog here, and as you can see, the software from the LumiCam AI is actually tracking my face around the dog's face. So it only detects humans. Camera number 20 was the Lumina Webcam on PC at 1080p and going through NVIDIA's broadcast software, both having blur enabled as well as noise removal. So what do you think about that? Now, camera number 18 was the Lumina Webcam on Mac, and that was at 4K using manual exposure with the Plus driver. Did you cheat at all when you were watching those samples of the different cameras and settings? I hope not. Don't go back and change your answers on the comments. And I hope that you did comment. If you didn't, go ahead and pause this video now, jump back, and then please go ahead and comment on each of the cameras and let me know what you think they are and with what settings. So one of my challenges is that because this is in a beta status, you got to realize that you might think that a particular setting or whatever might not be as great as something else, and the results can be inconsistent. And what I mean by that is that I could go ahead and record something using a certain set of settings with the camera, and then if I reboot the machine and run some other programs, open close things or whatever, and then open up the driver and start recording again, thinking that I'm using the same settings, sometimes those settings might have been lost or changed, or they might just be reacting differently to my environment here that I'm recording in my home office. So before you come to any conclusion on if you think that you should or should not be purchasing the Lumina, what I can definitely recommend is that you wait to see how the drivers improve, especially once it is officially released. Because the results of the camera, from what I've seen since it was released, has seemed to improve with each additional release of new firmware as well as the software drivers. Now, Windows, since it is the newest platform for support, seems to have the least amount of options to be able to change settings in the camera. For example, it just doesn't show up as 4K using the Plus driver, but I want to say there was one time that it did. It was, I don't know. Anyways, it's beta, so if something doesn't work, it's beta, you know. Camera number 2 is my Sony a6500 with a Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens on it. Camera number 2 is my Sony a6500 with a Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens on it.